Call the meeting to order. We're going to start with the executive director for roll call.
Roll call. Guam Police Department.
Present.
Guam Airport Police. Guam Port Police, not present. Attorney General Guam, not present. Guam Customs and Quarantine.
Present.
Present. Guam Department of Corrections. Present. Guam Department of Agriculture, not present. The University of Guam, not present. Guam Community College, present. Guam Judiciary Marshals, Guam Judiciary Probation,
Present.
Guam Fire Department, present. Department of Administration personnel, not present. They advised me earlier they're not able to attend. Department of Youth Affairs,
Present.
Guam Aircraft Rescue Firefighting, not present. Guam Parks and Recreation, present. Four, five, six, seven. Yes, we have a quorum. We have enough voting room. Minimum of five. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We have quorum, so we can go ahead and hold the meeting.
Okay. We'll start with reviewing of the minutes. Did everybody get a copy?
Yes.
Do we need time to go over the minutes, or does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of April 24, 2025, subject to any corrections.
Second. Customs.
And just for everybody, just to let you know, the chairman for public safety is here with us during our meeting. I'd like to acknowledge his presence. Thank you, Senator Mutapa.
Morning.
Okay, Mr. Chair, do you have any remarks? No. Okay, going to old business, we'll start with the general force structure. Chief Harris, you want to provide an update?
Good morning, everyone. Yes, so we had a meeting in September, and part of the effort is to ensure that collectively as a law enforcement community that we're all moving towards the same goals and objectives. And with that being said, we put out for already our third meeting that we need to ensure that our position description questionnaires are all solid. And I also put out there, if you need help, come to me. I can give you some pointers on what to do. What we're looking at is it this upcoming meeting or the November meeting that we're looking at finalizing and submitting all the position description questionnaires so that we can start the ball rolling, because it really is taking a little bit of time for us to do a review, and if nobody's here to try and at least try to push the initiative, we're never going to get anywhere. So with that being said, if you have any questions, I'm available now, and obviously even after the meeting is over, you can just reach out to me, my cell phone.
So our next general force structure meeting is actually scheduled for next week, Thursday, October 30th at 10:30 in this room. Please let me know. We don't want to call a meeting if the agencies are not ready. So please let me know via email whether or not you've already reviewed your PDQs, you've updated your PDQs. And again, if you need assistance, then you can contact the subcommittee chair, Chief Vince. We've actually met with Department of Agriculture already, the director, regarding her positions. If you need us to come to your office, we're willing to come to your office to meet. But if we don't have anything to discuss on October 30th, then we can schedule it for sometime in November. I just need to know from the agencies, let us know whether or not we're gonna come back next week.
Can I just add on to that? So with that being said, right, we're looking at creating non-competitive career ladder positions so that you don't have to compete at every single step So currently, once you graduate from your academy and you get into your law enforcement specific job, every single position is competitive. And just to reiterate, I'm not sure about everybody else, but I'm tired of seeing 30-some years of service and the guy's a customs officer one. And, through no fault of his own, maybe it's his own initiative that he doesn't want to do it, but for those who want to move, this is one of those ways that, in which we're looking at, which is actually in line with what the federal government does. They have non-competitive career ladders, and it's been very successful. And we're trying something new that will entice officers to stay within your agency, because they see that for the experience, education, and the knowledge that I get as I work through my career, I'm being recognized by giving the appropriate increase in level to what I learn. Okay, so just to reiterate that. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that if you don't do it on behalf of your agency and we move forward, you're going to be at a loss. Everybody else will be ahead of you, because we're not, the only ones that turned in were like one or two agencies. So we're going to move as soon as we get everybody in. But if we see that we're not moving, we need to find out where that obstacle is and try to overcome it.
Okay.
Good. So, Chief Vince, to your point, they've actually done that already at the Guam Police Department. And,
Yes.
hopefully, maybe it can be a model for other agencies. So
Yes.
what I've done is, we all know that from a police officer training to a police officer one, that's an automatic promotion after 1 year of satisfactory work, and you complete the apprenticeship program. But I've taken that a step further already in the Guam Police Department, and we've worked with DOA, we've amended our position descriptions for the police officer 2 and police officer 3. So now I have automatic promotion from appeal 1 to appeal 2, and appeal 2 to appeal 3. So the only time it becomes competitive is once we hit sergeant 1 and up. And that's because, we do the automatic promotions, they're gonna bottleneck there. So we gotta make sure that there's a system in place so that, we kind of don't have to promote everybody at one time, because we can't have 100 sergeants and 20 appeal 1s, right? So,
Right.
yeah, so we are doing automatic promotions already in the Guam Police Department. And anytime you want to go down that road, it's a very tedious task, but it really just takes time and effort. So hopefully by November, Senator, and post-commission, we will be able to start our automatic promotions from appeal 1 to appeal 2.
And Chief, if I can add, the important thing about this process is that it allows us, as we're getting ready for the next budget process, you all can well imagine, if we're trying to plan for the next fiscal year, if at least we can get this this is the biggest step out of the way for you all. It can open the door to the next budget cycle so that we can properly budget, so we're not guessing.
So again, it was discussed during our subcommittee, the non-competitive promotions all the way up to PO3, and then based on whether or not you have a sergeant or a supervisor, that will be competitive. Agencies need to work with the Department of Administration on that tedious task for the non-competitive promotions. But it has worked, it is already approved by DOA for the Guam Police Department. It can work for the other agencies. It's just connecting with DOA and getting that process done. It's tedious, but I encourage you as the executive director to go and work with DOA, and I'm willing to help you with that process as well. Okay? Moving on to the.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask a question? I don't know if it's, just curious, with the LEO pay plan being under review by DOA, was there any review or updates with PDQs for the LEOs? Or are they using the same ones as previous years?
My understanding is they're using the same ones. If you have not previously updated your PDQs with DOA, they're gonna use the same ones. So that's the thing. We have the general force structure, we have the 3-year review for the LEO pay plan, and so forth. So that needs, if your agency has not done it, please work with DOA on doing that. I know that prior to the implementation of the non-competitive pay promotions for DPD, they actually did update their PDQs. And that's why that was reviewed and approved. So updating your PDQs is critical. It's tedious, but it needs to be done. And if we incorporate that as part of our force structure, it makes it even better so that we can do it.
So, sir, for DOC, we've never updated ours since 1970 something. All the PDQs for CO1 all the way up to the warden has never been updated, so I'm working on that now. And I hope to have it finished by next week.
Sure.
And I will be sending all the way from recruit, all the way down to the warden, down to DOA for their processing. And like GPD, I've also included the automatic promotion for CO2 and 3s. I took what GPD did, I saw what you guys did on your DO, that it was announced on the DOA website.
Yeah.
So I saw that, and I also started working on that, so today's, so hopefully by Wednesday next week, I'll have it ready for the director's signature, so that I can forward it to DOA, they can vet it, do what they do on their side. Once they approve it, they have to put it on their website for 10 days, and then I believe it becomes effective like 6 months later.
Yeah, goes on to the legislature first.
Yeah, so I, you know, and for the next budget, we're also trying to include that. I'm also keeping track of my officers who might qualify for that automatic promotions once it's approved, but I hope to have my PDQs by Wednesday next week. You know, I'm just doing one last final review of everything, but I hope to have it ready by Wednesday.
And like the chairman for public safety said, it ties into your budget, okay? So once it's approved by DOA, then for FY 27 and so forth, you're gonna know how many people, what the budget requirements may be for your agency based on that, okay? Moving on, medical program, the profile subcommittee update. Chief Mantanoni is not here, but he and I have been working on developing what are the physical requirements for each of the positions. Please, if you have not done so, send me what you consider your physical fitness requirements for your agency. GPD has done it, ARF has it where in order for you to work as a police officer, you need to be able to stand and do all these things for an extended period of time. If you need a sample, I can send it to you, what was issued, and that way you can develop your own. The other thing we're looking at is if you have people on profile, medical profile, what duties can they perform as well for your agency? So we want to make sure that when we look at the medical program and the profiles, we're able to develop that list of what they're required to do as part of their daily duties, and if they're on medical profile, what is it that they are capable of doing? And that all ties in with what Chief Mantanoni wanted, was to have like a medical review officer be a part of that. So we're still in the infancy stage, we just still need the information from your agencies. Okay, moving on to post decertification process. Just to advise all members, the International Association for Directors of Law Enforcement Standards and Training, IADLES, which I'm a part of and the commission's part of, there's an actual decertification website. And what happens is, as the post-executive director, if we get individuals from other jurisdictions that are applying, we can actually go into the other states and territories, the other jurisdictions, and verify that the individual was certified or decertified. Because if they're decertified, then I have to look in and verify whether or not I'm gonna certify them under post. So that's a good thing, because now we're part of the National Decertification Index under the International Association for Directors of Law Enforcement Standards and Training. This is something that IADLES has been working on for over a year, and when I went to the FLETC conference for post directors, I was able to get in, and now we have access. It was just granted to me just last week Friday, so we're good on that. The other thing for everybody's information, IAD-LEST is also working with the U.S. Senate on a bill to give post-executive directors access to NCIC to conduct the background investigations. for everybody that's coming in and out. So unfortunately, Congress and the Senate are out due to the government shutdown, but we're hoping to follow up and see where we're at in that. That will help the director, myself, or future directors verify when people are coming from other jurisdictions, whether or not they have a pending case or whether or not we should certify them. So once we get word, then I'll be sure to pass that on to the chairman and everybody at our next meeting. Okay? Moving on to new business, Mr. Chair.
Sorry, just wanted to touch on that if I may.
Yes.
Just on that particular topic in itself, nothing precludes any of the law enforcement agencies from helping the host commission initiate the background checks. And I know the tedious responsibility to go through Congress, but there's got to be the nexus for law enforcement and within every post commission. And so with that, again, nothing precludes the commission from reaching out to GPD or any of the other organizations from having to leverage that ability to run these checks.
Okay. Thank you for that. Moving on to new business, our budget still status quo, and I work with the president on developing on the accounts for our budget. We're actually good. We're going to be able to continue to do what we do. Again, if you don't know, Isaac Williams serves as the administrative assistant for post. He's also the executive secretary for the commission for our meetings. So between Isaac and I, will help everybody out.
For your budget, does that still include police?
Yes. So it includes Police One. Police One will continue. We have under contractual services, we have Police One, which gives agencies access to Police One for law enforcement, Corrections One, the library for any of the training, and Fire Rescue One. So it used to be just Police One and Corrections, but this past fiscal year, we included Fire Rescue One, which is good for everybody. I'm still researching to see what other libraries are available for online training. Yes.
Do you still have funding available for the personal specialists, or did they reduce the amount that you can request for?
When you were the chair and I first came in, our budget was 600,000. Now it's just 300. So it's basically just to cover the admin side. We'll work. My intent is to present a draft budget to the commission for review of the chairman, and then once the commission adopts it, then I can work with the administration and the chairman, public safety chairman, on increasing the budget. Okay. So what I did pass out under new business number 2 was the mandatory requirements for category 2 special deputy marshals. This was adopted by the Judicial Council. It's for your review. Special deputy marshals are considered category 2. So in working with the marshal of the court, the deputy chief marshal, we want to come up with an actual curriculum for them to follow. So that has been adopted by the JC Judicial Council. And now that's going to go into record under close as anybody that's going to be a special deputy marshal will have to go through these training requirements, which is anywhere from 108 hours to 112 hours, correct? So that's in place. We want to make sure that we have the standards for all of our categories, category 1, category 2, and my next one is to work with the Department of Corrections on category 3. For the category 3 are your social workers. So we're gonna look at what are the training requirements for that. So that'll hopefully by not our January meeting, but the follow-up meeting in April, we'll have something worked out because DOC and I are already working on some training stuff as well.
And we do that for all social workers?
Social rehabilitative personnel and correctors. Yeah, that's for plus the mayors. They're considered category.
So would that be for DYA as well, our social workers?
For CPS social workers?
I believe it's just for DOC, but let me verify and I'll get back to you on the youth social workers.
I'm just asking because once we start to exclude other agencies in a certain class, starts to create issues. So we have social workers, DOE, mental health, GMH, CPS, UIA, judiciary.
I'll look into it and I'll get back to you.
It's almost like what we do, we're going down the road for the 40% for GPD, and then customs jumped in, DOC jumped in, the revenue tax, ABC investigator jumped in, or whoever they are with the criminal investigation, guards, right? Once we open up that door for social workers, there's a category 3, because I'm sure it's gonna come with some pay incentives, then, we create an issue now for inequity for other agencies.
Yeah, because right now we're dealing with, so we got the retention pay, the correctional officer retention pay at 25%. We were the first ones to get it, and UIA. Now we have 3 grievances going before the civil service soon. Caseworkers filed a 25% retention pay grievance. Parole officers, and then another correctional officer that's assigned to Homeland. Right, they're grieving that, so we're going through that process. With the correctional officers, when I first started DOC 31 years ago, in our academy, we sent caseworkers and Patango with the director, and we send caseworkers at a certain point for like self-defense, CPR, Prison Rape Elimination Act, certain security classes, general orders on conduct with inmates and things like that to, train them so that when they interact with inmates, they know certain boundaries, certain rules. So that's similar to probably what we stopped that years ago, but we need to get that back involved because we've had some issues with caseworkers in the past. Not being they're coming in out of the street with college degrees and all, but we're not sending them to no formal academy, no training, and then we have issues with how when they interact with inmates or even responding to disturbances and things like that. So those are probably, like I said, some of the courses we have to
This is same issue I'm having with my detention facility guards.
Right, yeah.
High school diploma, that's it.
Right.
But there's a AG legal opinion that authorized them to act, function, and carry a firearm like a police officer. With no post-training.
Before what, again, in Patango, he was director, we would send them to that academy and then he would actually swear them in. And then the whole idea was, in the event of a riot or a big issue, we could tap on the caseworkers and assign them to certain locations of DOC to assist. And that was the whole purpose why we were training them. You never know, you could have a uprising or any kind of issue that we want.
I'm just saying, that once we start to look at social workers in one agency,
We
we
have,
open up the other door, the door for other agencies to say, how about me? Which is what happened, right? There's a 40%. We started with GPD and it was, how about me?
Yep.
And before you know it, we even had security guards and I don't know who else jumped on that bandwagon.
and it's interesting because when we had the conversation with the director for the Department of Agriculture, there's statute that says that their forestry personnel are considered peace officers. Their animal control officers are considered peace officers. Their entomologist is considered a peace officer. And then in talking with the director at DRT, the compliance officers are considered peace officers by statute, as well as the tax investigators and some of the revenue agents. So, and then at DRT, the revenue agents are actually special deputy marshals, they're sworn. So that's why I was working with the judiciary on identifying what are the training requirements, because we want to make sure that we know what they are, and that way, when I have another discussion with the director, I'm gonna say, these individuals have to, you need to ensure that these individuals meet the special deputy marshal training requirements. And then for consideration, if the post commission is gonna consider the other peace officers that are designated by statute, then these are the standards they have to go to. So that's why we updated the standards for category 1. We now have standards for special deputy marshals category 2. And I'm just trying to make sure we have it for all the categories. But we're gonna have a long conversation with regards to category 3, because that includes a lot of people.
We were actually sitting down, Mr. Director Vidalio, and there's this one train of thought of maybe removing our correctional caseworkers from category 3. And the thought is this: if you're a caseworker, you're either a caseworker or law enforcement. And when you're dealing with inmates, on one hand, we're law enforcement, we have a certain, with them, communication. But with caseworkers, if they start seeing them like law enforcement officers, they may not be as willing to work with them because they see them as a cop, right? They see them as a law enforcement. So either you're a caseworker or you're a law enforcement officer. It gets complicated when you start giving them that, but then on one hand, you're calling them category 3.
Correct.
Right? And so there's this thought that maybe we may consider in the future removing them from that category 3 and say, listen, you're a caseworker, not a law enforcement. Right? So,
And that's why we need to have that conversation to do it, because then it would require going to the public safety chairman and saying, okay, we need to amend Title 17, Chapter 51, section, I think it's 3104. So, or 511 something. So we need to do that legwork first, and then we should present it to the commission for adoption before we go to the legislature as well as the governor and present it to them. Okay, so that's a good discussion on that. The next one is the post-curriculum review. So I've looked at the firearms course for all agencies, and the chairman and I have had this discussion for the last 2 years. When it comes to firearms, the ammunition requirements don't need what's happening now. I mean, the firearms was developed back in the 80s. So the ammunition requirements is only 400 per GCC. But for those of us in the law enforcement field, we know, and even in the federal at FLETC, it's at least 1,000 rounds per individual to be able to qualify. If you look at the actual curriculum under GCC, there's no amount. The criminal justice department is just saying it's 460. But as a commission, if we adopt the firearms course today, then we can go to GCC and say, moving forward for any of our apprenticeship cycles, for any of our cycles, that the minimum requirements is 1,000 rounds per person. We need to ensure that our officers are comfortable behind the weapon. They know what to do. When I went through Balea over 20-some years ago, it was actually more than 460 at the time, because we actually brought in ammunition from our own agencies. And what's happening is within your agencies themselves, you're actually putting out more ammo. And I know that's true with GPD, customs, as well as DOC. So we just want to establish a standard, and the standard will be the 1,000 rounds. So that's why I presented the curriculum for review and adoption. If you want to take a look at it one more time, unless you want to make a motion. If you feel we need more time, we can take a look as well.
For the one piece, everybody said we did, and go ahead, my firearms, committee will look at. Definitely have an update by the next motion.
So there's a motion by the chairman to table it to the next meeting. Second by Chief Rockstrom. Judiciary probation.
One quick question on this. So when we're sending trainees and let's say we adopt this, then now we would have to expend additional funds to meet the difference, right?
If if you put your personnel through the apprenticeship program pays for that, supposed to pay for that. I've already had a discussion with the GC apprenticeship office and with Mr. Munoz about it.
Okay,
We are looking at requesting doing the request for 1,000 rounds per individual that's going through an apprenticeship cycle. So that's kind of like moving it. Now, if you decide to run your own cycles, remember that your cycle has to be approved by the commission before you run it on your own. And all the courses that you're gonna require them to take has to be reviewed by the commission as a whole. So right now, what we're at is the commission utilizes the criminal justice department and the apprenticeship office out of GCC to train all of our individuals. The only other option is that individually people go through the criminal justice program on their own and they pay on their own. But for the last couple of cycles, everything has been paid for by the apprenticeship office. So we want to make sure that our officers, when they go through it, they get the necessary rounds to be sufficient in performing the task with their firearms. And that also goes for the second one, which is the EVOC course. So if you're running EVOC, doesn't matter what agency, right now GTD is providing the vehicles for that. But what we're saying is if you're gonna run it through the apprenticeship cycle, the apprenticeship office should at least purchase at least one vehicle. So that way it doesn't come out of the GPD fleet. So we're trying to make it where whoever is funding the cycle takes care of the logistical requirements for that cycle. And it doesn't have to necessarily come out of your agency. So we can table, there was a motion by the chairman to table it, second by the chief of probation. Unless there are no objections.
Yeah, I have no objection, but I have just one question. Here it says block 22. We would be, DOC would be required to, because most of our weapons are even the revolver, where we have a 5906.
Okay,
Yeah, we,
that's my fault.
yeah, we have not purchased any, I mean, I'm not to say we don't object. I mean, I think we probably need to look at purchasing a set of weapons.
Yeah.
Not all, we don't carry weapons all the time. Most of our staff is mostly transport, perimeter, things like that would actually be mandated to carry those things. But yeah, I just want to make sure that's something I gotta bring up in our,
So if your agency uses a different caliber, email that to me. The various calibers you use, some people are still using, if you're still using the revolver, the 9, the 5906, whatever, let me know so that I can go in and amend that piece to be agency specific. Instead of just saying it's the Glock 22 40 caliber. Yes.
sir, in line with Anton's question, right? At one point, Customs was moving towards the 40 cals, but now we're moving back to the 9 mils. Is this like gonna be set in stone or?
No. That's why I was saying earlier, Chief, that I could amend that section to agency specific, their specific
And
fire.
then the idea is that at least within the law enforcement community, mostly everyone is using 9 mils. So if we can maybe sit collectively and identify what each entity is actually utilizing, we can, because otherwise then we would have to go back and convert all our 9 mils back.
So just email me the caliber, and then I'll go in and I'll amend that to reflect whatever agency specific authorized are.
I mean, because my idea would be, whether I'm using the 59, I actually want to make sure that whatever we do use, it would be consistent with other law enforcement. So in the event we're in a joint operation, or something happens out there, and it requires exchange of magazines or something like that, you just never know what happens. my officers are, will have the same kind of weapons as, for example, the Guam police. So if there's, like I said, anything happens out there and they need to share magazines or something really goes bad, they can do that. But if we're carrying a 5906 on one side and they have a Glock on their side and they run out of ammo or something goes wrong,
Yeah.
I want to kind of prevent that and just make sure we're all equipped. I don't have a problem going to the Glock or anything. I just
And
need to
we
know
had
which
this
way we're gonna go.
discussion years ago when at the judiciary, when I was, the chief was, following what the GPD was using as a standard, and that's why we did that. But again, let me know and I can mend it, based on what type of fire caliber you're using within your agency. Okay?
Thank you.
So just do that, and then we will also table the e-box if you wanna look at it. Again, we're talking about, requiring a police package vehicle. I've actually been out to the Raceway Park with the e-box instructors, and we identified what other logistical requirements we need out there. Most of the time, the e-box instructors are actually providing all that stuff, like the codes and whatever else they need, to do their work, and we wanna say, this is the standard. Please make sure that you follow the standard and you provide the necessary equipment, so we don't have to tap agencies for that. But continue to review it, we can discuss this at our next meeting. It's on table. Item number 4, I was working with the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center for training for Guam. I'm just waiting for it to start back up when they go in. They're pretty busy right now. Mr. Board is pretty busy, and so there's training. I'm also working with GPD because we're trying to bring in training. I believe it was already approved by FEDC, the investigative training. So we're trying to see what other subsequent trainings we can add, because while they're here, we want to take advantage and allow the other agencies to participate. So more to follow. Once I get word, then I'll be sure to email it out to everybody. Okay, the post certificates, the chairman and I are actually signing the actual certificates. So far, we have over 400, and he's about to get another batch of 200. And so the ones he has are the ones for Guam Police Department, Customs and Quarantine, and Guam Fire. We are gonna do the big agencies. The next agency would be Department of Corrections, and then we'll get to the smaller ones. But we're actually issuing out the actual post certificates. Okay? My thing is, we are passing it out for all full-time classified employees first. We wanna make sure that we get all the full-time officers first, your reservists and so forth. Let's just work on one piece at a time, or your full-timers. Want to make sure they're there. So if you have an updated listing of personnel, please email that to myself or Isaac. Okay, in the packet included is a packet from the Child Protective Services and Adult Protective Services. They are offering training on CPS and APS responsibilities. I've looked at it, the curriculum is solid, it's 4 hours each. They're wanting to be able to give this training to all new personnel within your agencies.
Would that be something that I guess we could probably include here too, where they have them come through the class?
Yes, and that's what we're working out is, Isaac and I are actually working with GCC to be able to secure a classroom every Friday to be able to conduct DSAT training, cultural and linguistic training, mental health first aid, CPS and APS training, and just have it in our building, and then you can just send your personnel accordingly. So we're not taking 20 from one agency, we're just taking 1 or 2 from each agency just to get it going, and using Fridays, because Fridays, the campus is kind of closed, so we have available classrooms as well. So we're looking at that. CPS and APS is actually providing the training to the Guam Police Department. So we wanted to make sure that we get it out to all the other agencies, and they want to provide it.
We also were able to participate with training by CPS, and it was virtual, and so.
Oh, okay.
So in terms of mandatory reporting, so that could also be an option we can check.
Okay, I'll check with Patricia on that.
Patricia Martinez.
Yeah, because she only provided it for, in person, I believe. But if it can be done virtually, that will help the other agencies as well.
Yeah, they did it during their month, and when they offered it, we were able to jump in on.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, we normally just reach out to them to come into
and
our training room too, and we do up a day. So right before they graduate, they have the recruits have some downtime. We actually have that as a mandatory requirement for them too.
And that's a good point. So when you're done with the academic side of GCC, now's a good time to bring in your cultural and linguistic class, your disability sensitivity class, your mental health first aid, CPS, APS, your general orders within your organization. While they're in that training mode and they're still all together, they're brand new, get them that training, and that only makes it better for all of us, for all of you as heads and chiefs. So it's there. We'll continue to push out when the classes are available, and we'll get that out to you. Open discussion and announcement. There is one from the apprenticeship office reached out to me. What they're trying to do is there's a struggle with ensuring that there are enough textbooks for the classes, especially the cycles. So if a cycle starts in January, they need to order those books, months in advance. We do have some cycles that are still waiting for books. And unfortunately, they're still on back order. So what I asked Mr. Munoz and apprenticeship is, why don't we just get one, for law enforcement courses, why don't we just get one book, one set of books of 60? And that as the law enforcement cycles come through GCC, they'll use that book. So the question was whether or not the agencies want hard copy books for their trainings. Personally, my opinion is, they're gonna get a book, and are they gonna really go through that book after when they're working? I say let's just get the academic books, the set of 64 the cycles, and go for it. The only exception will be Guam Fire, because their medical books are specific. So you guys are gonna continue to get your books as
What we've been doing too is we've actually been utilizing ebooks too. It's a little bit better, less cumbersome and it's a lot easier for them to carry to the classroom and stuff. So, and I know that we have the computer lab too where they can actually view it. They don't have the devices on hand, but the ebooks were a lot easier and cheaper. So
They're a lot cheaper. Ebooks are a lot
Yeah, so the concept is, because we have so many cycles going on, that even with the ebooks, although you're saving versus hard copy books, every cycle has to get a new set of books. So going with a hard copy of 60 books, anytime there's a cycle, then it's readily available, and we don't have to wait for books, because it does take time to get books. Okay, that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything?
GPD and customs, we started our cycle on Monday.
GPD Customs started their cycle on Monday. Conservation and DOC is scheduled to start next Monday. Restart. I believe it's a restart, because they started the first 2 blocks, and then there was a break in fiscal years, so we're looking at having them start.
Then the GPD DOC cycle will graduate in December.
Yes. Okay.
So we have a 25th fire cycle coming up too. So we're working with WD and CJ too.
And that's the one in January.
Hopefully we start in January.
Yeah. So what we're trying to do is make sure, I'm working with the apprenticeship and the CJ department to make sure that they're aware of all the upcoming cycles. Because we need to plan for it. And that's why we're looking at a set of books to be constantly used and then updated when the new revision comes out. So that way we're not delaying the cycles. Another thing we have to do is they have to do it by semester. So it's fall semester, spring semester, summer semester. So That's why they need the leeway, and I've always said, you gotta work with CWD at least 45 days out. Make sure you have your names and everything, because they have to go through, if they're part of apprenticeship, they have to be registered with DOL. Then they have to do GCC apprenticeship and register with GCC. They have to do the health clearances. They have to be ready to start. So when there is a schedule with the CJ department makes and approved by the dean, everybody's ready to start without somebody kind of jump in and say, oh man, this guy didn't clear his medical, or this individual didn't clear her medical. So we want to help each other out by making sure that when we start a cycle, everybody's good to go and ready. Okay? Anything else?
Hey, Chief, I was just wondering, under the new business, I know that we kind of tabled item 3. Was there did the need for the commission to vote for items 1 and 2 be necessary, or are they just tabling that as well, pushing it to the?
Just the 3, which, item 3 is the curriculum for tax farms and EBOP.
Correct, we tabled right because of the firearms, or the mandatory requirement for.
And the
1,000
review.
rounds.
And then for the agencies to get back on what caliber, firearm they use.
So did you need a vote from the commission, i.e. the post-budget or
No,
the
no,
mandatory requirements for the courts?
no,
Okay.
that was just for your review.
Okay,
It was just on the approval for the curriculum.
So
Yes, sir.
if I can, I just want to tell you all, thank you for your support in helping me get Public Law 3850 passed and signed by the governor in August. And I just wanted to tell you collectively to thank you all for your effort. I was talking to John before the commission meeting is I'm here to help support you. And especially in the role of chief, I'm here to help in terms of policy wise. I know we're talking about probably the most important part of the whole general force structure, the whole getting into the budget cycle. But I stand ready to help, and just wanted to recommit that today.
I just want to brief you, Mr. Chair. The judiciary has already reached out for the temporaries. I'm working with GCC on when we can start an actual cycle, so that because based on the timeframe for the issuance of the temporary, we wanted to make sure that when I issue it, there's a cycle that's already set, and we're not waiting on anything. So that way they can receive a temporary certification, start the initial employment requirements with the judiciary, DOC, or wherever, because they have a temporary, but making sure that there's a cycle that they're actually gonna go into.
No, and that's smart. And I mean, obviously, it's a tool for you all to use. So again, just I appreciate your input on that law. And if there's anything else I can do to support post, and I stand ready to do it.
Barring that temporary certification, how long would that be good for? Because we have issues where cycles are not slated for probably a year out. So how long would that temporary certification be good for?
That's for nine months.
9 months, and then subject to, I guess, extension based on that.
It's, right now, there's no extension, so that's why I'm trying to ensure that we have a cycle, that when I issue the temporary, there's an actual cycle they're gonna go with.
They're planning for.
Yeah, because if we don't plan the cycles accordingly, then I'm afraid that they're not gonna get into a cycle. And that's why I said, 45 days out, we need to start setting cycles, having names, having everybody cleared, so when, on day 1, everybody's ready. And that way, that clock, when I issue the temporary, that clock starts. The 9-month clock starts. And I wanna make sure that they finish before the expiration. So, that's the case. Previously, the commission was issuing temporary certificates for those used to be in law enforcement and coming back from other jurisdictions. And we were having to track that individually when that certificate expires, whether or not they actually completed. And then there was a discussion a couple months ago about what happens if they don't get post-certified. And that was the discussion we had here 6 months ago. It's like, okay, what do we do? Because now they're considered full-time employees. Because they completed their probationary period. This is why we want to make sure that there's a cycle in place, so that while they're on probationary, they complete the cycle. If they don't complete the cycle during the probationary time of 6 months, then they're subject, to be released. And that's where it helps the agencies with, wait, we hired this guy, he's full-time now, but now I still gotta get a post. So that's what we're looking at. Anything else, anybody? Our next meeting is scheduled for January 22nd, 2026 at 10:30. I'll send out an Google invite and the email. As far as the packets, I try to put out the packets to email so that you can review it beforehand. That way we can kind of cut down on the amount of copies we make for the next meeting. But we'll make a couple of hard copies for everybody else. There a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I second.
Meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.